Welcome, Hannah. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Once Upon a Real Life. It's lovely to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Val.
My pleasure. Hannah is the director of unpack Marketing, which is a fantastic company dealing with a lot of different mining companies and advertising for. You'll hear about it in a minute.
In a minute, yeah.
In
all
a
sorts
minute.
of technology companies, all sorts of things, yeah.
Yeah, and then today we're going to be discussing imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is something we all, from day to day or time to time, have experienced. So you might walk into a situation you feel unworthy, or in a relationship, imposter syndrome can come up, and it can be a little bit of a concern, and that's what we're going to discuss today with Hannah, among many other things.
Yeah.
So first of all, Hannah, can you tell us a little bit how you got into marketing and what led you to co-own your business?
Surely can. So thanks for having me, Belle. I first got into marketing as after school. I was sort of not quite sure what I wanted to do. Knew I wanted to university, had a real passion for languages actually. So I always was going to do arts, like Bachelor of Arts in French and Spanish. And then I was like, I should do something else for my employability, if you like.
So you speak both French and Spanish?
I do, yeah. And, Spanish, you can ask Catalina, not very well, but...
I'll say, ooh la la.
Yeah. Or, ay caramba, no, just kidding. Please cut that. So they had that, and then my dad was very concerned that I wouldn't be able to get a job, and so you got to do something else. So I thought, okay, I'll also do a Bachelor of, I was going to do science actually, but I ended up doing commerce and then majoring in marketing. So that's how I started out in marketing. Following uni, I started working in New Zealand for various advertising agencies. So I was in the media department, which is the numbers kind of nerd department who decides where all the advertising is going to go in media. So whether that's radio, TV, magazines, internet, online, whatever. And so that was my first foray into my professional life, I guess, was starting in advertising. And then, following on from that, did a bit of travelling, and then eventually actually did my grad dip in education when I was pregnant with my second son, Louis, and then went off and did a bit of teaching, so taught French and English for a while, and then circled back around once that sort of wasn't a great fit for me for various reasons. I had the opportunity to start a marketing consultancy with I won't say business partner because she's primarily my very dear friend and almost like my sister, Amelia Chalker.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so her and I basically, do you want me to keep going about how that came to be?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
That's what I want to know, yes.
So basically, Amelia fell pregnant with her third child, so that was little Olivia, and she was working at a mining engineering consultancy doing their marketing. And Amelia and I had met years before at News Limited where we were working selling advertising. And she said to me, are you teaching at the moment? Do you want to take my maternity leave contract here and you flex your marketing muscles again? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great, actually. Why not? So I went off and did that. Whilst we were both working there between her and I, that's where we uncovered there was a gap in the market, really, is that we were working there and the company we were working for started then kind of pimping us out, which is not a very nice way to put it, but basically offering our marketing services to other companies who they also worked with as part of their consultancy to say, you're not big enough to have your own marketing department, but we can help you out. These, women I should say, can assist you with anything marketing you might need done. So we ended up working for about, I'd say 4 or 5 other companies than the main company we were employed for. And we sort of scratched our heads and thought, when once I had left and she'd come back from having Olivia, and we sort of thought, this is interesting. We could probably just do this ourselves, to be honest.
Go out on your own.
Instead of just, having the same salary and doing more work, well, maybe we should just start doing it ourselves. So that's when unpack Marketing was born. So that was 2015. Amelia stayed on with a consultancy for a bit longer, another 1.5 or 2 years, I think, actually. And I worked behind the scenes, building up the company, getting new clients, and then she was also funneling some work through from the company she was still working with. And we built it all up from there. So
2 girl bosses.
Yeah, so we're going to be 10 this year, if you can believe it or not. Yeah.
Congratulations and happy birthday. 10 is amazing.
Yes, it is.
Amazing.
I'm very proud of that.
So that's how you started. Now, what is it like working closely with the mining companies, traditionally men-dominated field?
Yes. So it's been really interesting. I think it's the full spectrum. I think the main thing you want to think about is that just regardless of the individual experiences, overwhelmingly, if you're the only type of person of any like race, gender, cultural background, not speaking English as a first language, all these types of things, it's always crazy intimidating if you're in a whole room of people who've got the same sort of experience and background and gender or whatever else, and you're the only one who's different, right? So, yeah, it certainly is pretty isolating.
Yeah.
You feel you're a little bit on the back foot to start with because you haven't necessarily... My husband's a geologist. I do know a little bit about the industry. Just living in Queensland in general, you typically do know. I'd obviously worked at the mining engineering consultancy, so I had learnt a lot through that role as well. But even then...
So you were certainly not an imposter.
I certainly wasn't unknown in terms of the industry background, but more so if somebody calls on you for your expertise in a field such as marketing and then applying that to the industry, you should, on paper, you should say, well, they've asked me to come here because they respect that they don't have that expertise and they need to outsource that capability. So why else would you be there? But of course, as we know, that's not what goes on lots of people's humans' brains.
Yes.
When they are in that situation, even if you've got the degrees, you've got the work experience, you've got the fact that you've done it a million times before, maybe not a million times, but plenty of times before, and you've been invited to be there.
Yeah, you're
and
well versed.
Still,
and so when you are marketing for the mining companies in particular, we don't need to get down to the company itself, but are you marketing the environmental aspect to the general public, or are you advertising to who?
So there's all sorts. Okay, so what we actually started out, I would say we were more of a METS marketing company, which is mining, equipment, technology and services companies within the mining sector. So what our speciality at unpack marketing actually is business to business marketing. So we're not business to consumer or business to community as much. It's changed a bit, so bear with me. But we started out more in trying to help technology companies or services companies who had something really different and special to offer to break into mining companies. So it was going that way. To start with, that was like the bread and butter. That was what the majority of our work was. And then over the years we've gone more direct with mining companies, so we've had quite a few mining companies in our books now, and that's often to do with, as you said, external communications to make sure that people are aware of their ESG commitments, so environmental, social, governance, all of those types of things that they need to do to meet environmental laws or goals of their own, like they might want to be net zero by 2030, all these types of things. How do we show with case studies and various things that they're actually walking the walk when it comes to environment and things like that.
Which is especially important for mining companies.
Absolutely. To attract investment, especially for mining companies, they're not going to get investment if they're not showing that they're doing these things.
Credibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So have you ever walked into a boardroom full of men and just thought to yourself, what am I doing here?
I actually did this on Thursday last week, but I didn't think, what am I doing here? I love that client. They're wonderful. But it was exclusively male between the ages of, I'd say, 25 and 60.
Intimidating?
But so in that instance, no. But if I flash back to the early days, 2015, 2016, when, especially because if you're going out on your own, it's your own company and people don't know you yet, you don't have that reputation yet. So I feel like we've got a bit of reputation, credibility behind us now, a bit of validation through referrals, through various initiatives that people actually have heard of us, at least, so you've got a foot up, you don't feel like you're just going in fresh. So if you're listening to this podcast and you can't see, I will say the lady sitting in front of me is a very attractive young woman and so is her business partner. So, with a whole room of men, it's great that they've got that background information and word of mouth of you. And usually that's how they've come to ask you to be there, which is great. But, and having said that, in the earlier days, days, as you said, the intimidation was very real because I was 10 years younger, for starters, so feeling less sure of myself in general. I think with age that comes with women especially become more sure in yourself. But also, just not having that industry validation yet, not having that as big a reputation, and feeling like you've got a lot to prove, and feeling a lot of eyeballs on you because you're so different, like younger, not in the same field. So I'm not an engineer, like most of them are engineers or some kind of technology specialist, and I might not necessarily have that exact expertise, but knowing that I know what I know,
you know your stuff,
and I've been invited to come for
That's
that.
right.
But
You've
that
hired
goes
me.
but that can go out the window very quickly when it's usually someone. I've had a few comments like, like keep in mind they've invited you there to talk about marketing, and I've had this a lot, and the comment will be, so guess you're here to sell me on marketing. And I'm like, well, I was invited here.
Well, Gary called me and Gary said, can you come in?
I didn't walk off the street.
I'm not cold calling you guys.
I'm not door knocking, which we'll get to later the other time. But I'm not here cold, with no introduction. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of weird, I've had the full spectrum of people being really unsure, really reticent to be open to what you've got to say.
So a bit of pushback.
Like, oh really? Well, what's the statistic? Well, what's the source? Like, what's the, like, on the spot in person expecting me to pull out? And I'm like, I will come back to you with that. But it's like very, very feeling like you're on the back foot, and often it's a numbers thing too. Like there'll be 8 to 10 people in an initial meeting to kind of size you up, if you like.
And I wonder if you were a man, Hannah, in that same position, I'd be interested to see if you had those same questions being tossed at you.
I do wonder. I mean, I can't say obviously, but I feel like typically, based on interviewing people and based on a few other things, I feel like society has built women to be self-doubters and not necessarily be as sure of yourself.
And so what happened in the meeting on Thursday?
Thursday was great, So Thursday was just a workshop, so it was wonderful. And they're like a dream client. They're so wonderful.
Fantastic.
They're the type of people, so that's the other end of the spectrum. You've got people who are like, we don't know, like I think the word was that they said was, we are the best kept secret in this space, and without outing who they are. But we want to change that, and that's why we need marketing assistance, because we don't know how to do that. And they're actually not as bad as they say, but they're very self-deprecating about how poorly they've done it to date and how much they want to change. So they're like the ideal, like they're ready to go. Everything we've suggested, they
want
to
take you on board.
And
so what role does your social life, and I know you play netball, so you've played for a very long time socially, so what role does your social life and playing netball play in keeping you grounded?
Oh, so good. Love my netball, or just exercise in general. Really important for me, really important for my mental health, really important for a sense of community. I feel like this is another thing about women that I think is so empowering and great, is that we naturally come together and pull each other together and hold each other up, like really amazing at doing that, and that netball is a part of that for me. But I also have been blessed with the most beautiful friendships, like with you, such gorgeous, really close friendships that I know that I can rely on. So that's been absolutely critical for me, and a thing that I feel like that women are particularly strong at doing. And
so somewhere that I don't see you being having the imposter syndrome is when you play centre.
Really? Am I a bit of a psycho?
Oh no, you're fantastic.
Because I have no idea what I come across like, but apparently, our team's called the Mighty Moles, and I have been told that I come off as a bit of a mole, so I'm like, oh gosh, I must be a bit competitive.
No, you're very competitive, and I love it. So, here's another different topic now. You spent some time in your youth as Jehovah's Witness. How has that shaped who you are today, both personally and professionally?
So, as Jehovah's Witness, I'll give a bit of background. So, I feel like so that was probably between the ages of 7 to 10, around there.
So, are you practicing any religion now?
No. I'd say I'm agnostic. I'm not atheist. I'm open to things. I like to take the good out of situations, but I just can't be tied down to organised religion, which I'll get into. But yeah, so basically I was, Jehovah's Witness, bit of a weird setup. So my mum and dad were still together, living in the same house, but it was decided for whatever reason, my dad didn't support it, that I would be a Jehovah's Witness with mum, and Sophie, my sister, would go to work with dad on the weekend.
So just the two of you?
Yeah, so that was a bit of a weird...
Only one child is?
Yeah.
Okay. And no choice for you?
No. Oh, having said that, I won't get into the full childhood baggage, but I reckon I probably convinced myself it was my idea.
Yeah.
Because I was so compliant and so desperate to please my mother that I probably...
And
she wouldn't have even had to try. She would have just been like, oh, it'd be great. I'll be like, yes, I'll do it. Yes. Yeah, of course. Yes. So it wouldn't have even been a conversation.
So that's a whole different podcast, people pleasing. I've got the same.
Yeah, we've got a lot of common ground in that area. Yes, for sure. But anyway, so that was decided, and so off I went to the Kingdom Hall. It's called, is the place of worship that you go along to in New Zealand, in Auckland, and so I was introduced to this religion. So it's basically like Christianity, but there's a few little quirky bits and pieces in there. Funny things like you're not allowed to accept blood transfusions. God said that's not allowed. So even if you're dying, no blood transfusions. Don't celebrate birthdays and Christmas.
So your sister got birthday, Christmas presents and you didn't?
Don't tell the Jehovah's, but we did still celebrate.
Okay. You were bad.
We were hardcore, because I think that would have been like a deal breaker for my dad. Would have been like, what are we doing here? I can't even go to family events. You know. But anyway, it was definitely a massive source of tension between my dad and mum, because mum was saying that, no, I'm willing to follow through with this whole thing. So and Dad was like, so you're saying if your child is dying, you're not going to give them, and she was like, well, that's not...
One child would get it, the other would not.
Exactly. I'm screwed.
You are screwed.
But yeah, it was really interesting. And I think, it was a really, so what it taught me basically, I think it's wonderful to have faith. It's wonderful to take the good from the Bible. It's pretty much the same Bible, I think.
Do they worship Mary?
It's not Catholicism, so it's not really heavy on Mary.
Yeah.
She's there. She's part of the story, but it's not It's not like that whole three thing, you know, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Not that. Yeah. But it's more Jehovah. Jesus is Jesus knocking around. He's there.
So who's Jehovah?
Jehovah's God. It's just God.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just another word for God.
Did he have a son called Jesus?
Yes.
Jehovah did?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm starting to doubt myself, but it's the same Bible, I'm sure, but it's just got some quirky. I think it's the interpretation is how it's gone different.
Jesus still had his mates at the table,
disciples. It was all the same, same books of the Bible. I literally got a cassette tape that was like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Acts, Romans, Corinthians. It's like
I said I'd get you singing on this podcast. I totally said it. And you said, one thing I will not do is sing.
I was a good little Jehovah's Witness with my memorizing of the Bible, and I had a children's storybook version, and I do remember I was all in, I got to Revelations, and it was the chariot of fire coming down to, that's the other difference. So
you read the Bible?
Oh, yeah.
You actually read the Bible?
Well, this is the children's Bible I'm talking about.
I had a children's Bible. I'm a Catholic. Can I just sing my song now?
Yeah,
if you get yours?
Go.
Clap with your hands. Our God is good.
Love it.
Oh, yeah. So I was a practicing Catholic.
We were ripe for... we were so into it. We were all in.
I probably would have loved door knocking. Did you door knock?
This is the other thing. Okay, so I'll just finish off the story. But so the children's storybook, the version of the Bible, the Revelations, chariot of fire coming down, and I just was like, so the Jehovah's Witnesses believe that, I think, that they, at the end of days, Jesus comes down and basically removes everyone from earth, or destroys everything on earth that's not Jehovah's Witness belief, and then that earth is replenished and the Jehovah's Witnesses come back and live in paradise. On earth.
Just the Jehovah's.
Yes.
So the Catholics are done for.
No, out. Yeah, just Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah.
Wow.
So this is my point about what I've taken
from it.
Well,
no wonder they didn't tell me that. As a Catholic, because only the Jehovah's were coming back.
What? They're saying about all the other religions too. Yeah, exactly. But they're all the right one. And this is what my takeout from overarching the whole thing is that great to have a faith, great to learn good lessons about being a good person and doing unto others as you would yourself, etc., etc. all you can take all the good things, the good lessons, basically about like being a good person, not causing harm to anyone.
Being a great person,
but also not causing harm. Like even if it's
harm.
something good for you, you're not going to consider how it would affect somebody else. Great, like those are all great things. But then you look at things like no blood transfusion, killing everyone who's not a Jehovah's Witness, and creating paradise. So I was having nightmares every night or every second night where I was imagining a vacuum in space, because I believe it's like the Earth like is destroyed and then comes back, or I don't know exactly the mechanics of it, but I was imagining a vacuum in space of silence. So I was imagining silence in space. And it was like blowing my little mind. So I was having nightmares. Oh, Mummy and Daddy come with all
So
this.
those revelations were quite traumatic.
So then you think, what good? Like, yes, there's a good, but then you think like, or that you're going to be held up on a small rule like a blood transfusion or celebrating a birthday. That's going to make me a bad person, really. So that's where I'm at with religion, is that it taught me that, and also it was really detrimental to my parents' marriage. But
so that's one thing that I love about. When I was a Catholic, I mean, I'm still a Catholic, but I certainly am not a practicing Catholic. But the one thing and that's by choice, the one thing I do miss from Mass is the Mass itself.
Yeah.
You know, it was 1 hour when nobody's talking to me. I'm not expected to answer, you know, except for the responses to the priest, which I quite enjoyed, and also the songs. The music was just beautiful. I did love the hymns.
And everyone
in
knows
Mass.
the words and the communal response. It's really beautiful.
So there are parts of it that I do miss.
Yeah.
But the some of the things in organised religion, I just can't agree with.
No. And I'm talking about like blood transfusions, but if you think about the more terrible things like contraception should be illegal, it shouldn't be allowed for people who like are
divorce,
divorce, gay marriage, like all these ridiculous things that you go, that doesn't make someone a bad person.
Funny you should say gay marriage is that was me walking out the door.
You did tell me that.
So
that was the deal breaker.
That was the deal breaker for me. I went to Mass, and it was around the time that Australia did have their right to choose. So we had a referendum, and it was on whether same-sex marriage should be lawful in our country. And the Catholic Church in Mass had this video on the screen, and they played it, and it basically told the whole congregation to vote no. Oh. And I couldn't swallow that.
Yeah, no.
You know, I show me where in the Bible it says
explicitly
that men can't be in love, you know, and be married. So, you know, and who wrote that book?
Yeah.
You know, who exactly wrote that book? So I do miss being a Catholic. I still say I'm a Catholic on a piece of paper if it says what your religion is, but I don't go to Mass. But I still sing the song sometimes to myself.
And to me. Beautiful. No, it is like, I don't remember missing the congregational stuff. I think it's because by that stage it had been negative enough for us that I was wanting to leave.
So how did you get out?
So that was the other thing. So so the pressure was coming. Maybe I was about 9 years old, and the pressure had been mounting for me to start door knocking. Yeah. So, and then Mum was like, well, I'm open to it as long as it's like a group of people and there's some older people there, like preferably an adult at least. And they were like, no, she needs to just do it in your community, and she's just
on your own.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And
at 9 years old, you were expected to door knock your community,
just around your local
and say, "Would you like to talk about Jehovah?"
Have you heard of Jehovah's Witness?
I am his witness.
Oh, it's more about the Watchtower. So that's their publication. Yeah. So you're meant to be trying to get people to read the Watchtower with you, and kind of invite yourself into their home as well.
I'm against that. I'm against what you just
said.
Crazy.
So, do you have time to sit down? We can read through the Watchtower. Yeah. So my mum, my mum was like, this actually is quite. I think that's more the thing that upset her than the marriage situation. So, So I don't know. I remember how exactly it happened, but it was.
You stopped attending.
Yeah, we stopped around. Yeah, about when I was about 10 years old, I think. Yeah, and crazy. Yeah, but
that is crazy. I didn't know some of those things.
Yeah,
I know when I was living with a friend when we were 18, and I had the Catholic background, and she had the Pentecostal background, and we were just talking about our churches, and she was saying, your church is so boring and mine is so fun. And I got a little bit offended. I was like, well, let's go to each other's churches.
Yeah,
we're 18.
We'll compare.
Let's compare churches.
Yeah.
And so I took her to my Catholic Mass, and she's just whispered to me, this is boring. And then she took me to hers, which is the Pentecostal, and
Does
there's
she have like a rock band?
There's a rock band on stage, and they're rocking out, and there's youth everywhere. There's young people everywhere. You get a free milkshake on your first attendance.
Yeah,
They've got a cafe, and
They are
everybody
working it.
they're working it, and everybody was standing up and singing when the rock band was playing, and it was great music. And then the woman in front of us and a man over there and a woman over there started falling around on the floor laughing hysterically, and I'm like, what is going on here? And she's like, they're drunk in the spirit. I said, what do you mean? She said they're overcome like a drunk person, but with the spirit of God.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Okay. So I was really enjoying watching that.
Did you join it?
No, I did not, but I was enjoying watching these drunk people laughing, rolling on the floor, and everyone ignores them because they know.
That's what they're meant to be doing. Yeah.
And there was another thing they did that was called Slain in the Spirit.
Yeah.
And Slain in the Spirit was, if I'm right, the pastor will call you, or reverend, I think he's a pastor, will call people that have an ailment up from the congregation to come to the front of the church, and he will heal them. Yes. And I was like, heal me. So I had a sore back.
Heal this one.
He's
just walked in your church for the free milkshake.
For the free milkshake, and the rock band, the concert. So off I go up to the front of the church. She's like, no. I'm like, I'm going. He's going to heal me. And so I'm standing there, and he's got his hand and his palm is nearly in front of my face. This is in front of everybody. And he's speaking in tongue. And he's like speaking in tongue and holding like probably a couple centimeters from my face with his palm on my forehead, and I didn't fall back like everybody else. So you're supposed to go, fall back and be slain in the spirit, and then two men or women will catch you and then lie you on the floor. Anyway, so he's speaking in tongues, and he must have been confused as to why I didn't go down and get slain. So he pushed me. With his palm, he pushed my head really hard.
Follow suit with my power. You are healed.
You are healed. And he pushed me back, and then I was caught and lied on the floor. So I kind of felt pressure to stay on the floor because everyone else was kind of staying on the floor.
Healed. I'm so healed. I can't get off the ground.
Yeah. So I did enjoy her church, and it was fundamentally a really exciting, fun experience. And I would certainly go again.
More performative.
I would definitely go again. But I've got a soft spot for my own church.
Of course. Well, it's just a tradition, and there's that belonging, and
and that's what it is. It's
and
community.
You know all the responses.
The community we had at our church was beautiful. I can plainly see that Pentecostal church had a really kicking community.
Yeah.
For sure.
Loving it. Yeah, that sense of belonging, that sense of...
But I do believe they gave 10% of their wage weekly to the church.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's what, I don't think Jehovah... Oh, there may be a bit of that, actually.
Yeah, but 10% is quite a lot.
Mormons definitely do 10%. Yeah, I believe. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, whatever they're calling now.
Yes.
Yeah. So that can be common with those ones,
Yeah, it's a lot. I would like to see where it goes, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing with the Catholic Church. I don't want to just
when it comes
offend
to the money.
The Catholics here, but I've been to Rome.
Yeah.
I've been to Vatican City.
Yeah.
I've seen what they've got on display and the amount of money, like these are priceless items, and what's on display in the Vatican doesn't even come close to what's underneath the Vatican and what's the precious items that are there.
Yeah.
And then you look at each Catholic church, and these people are giving portions of their wages, and now it's direct debit. It's not just popping in the first or second bowl that goes around. You are direct debiting.
A subscription service to your church,
Yet we still have homeless and poor people. So it's funny to me that falls on the government.
How much of is it coming to the local community rather than...
Why is it put on local, state and federal government for homeless and taking care of our people when I know a church that is about taking care of people and giving? Where's that money going? Where's it going?
I mean, they're doing certain things for like soup kitchen, or they give
soup kitchens.
They have various initiatives that they run. But I guess your point more to the point.
I didn't see any soup kitchens.
Oh, you didn't when you were there? No. Well, there you go. So if not even.
I mean, they might have been going on, but I certainly wasn't invited to any. And at that stage, I was giving communion. Like I was really in it, Hannah. So I was giving. This is the body of Christ. This is the blood of Christ, and I really enjoyed that, so I really am not putting the religion down. I'm just saying that it offended me that I was told to vote No.
Oh, and then give money and don't ask any questions.
Right, and the money I didn't really mind giving either, because what I was getting out of it was community and music and faith. But again, that religion itself is very wealthy.
Yes. So where's it all? Yeah.
Where's it
Especially
all
if
going?
everyone's, as you said, on a subscription basically, and then it's just getting fed in what's happening with it. Yeah. I think the Catholic Church is still one of the top 3 followed in the world.
Well, there you go.
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, a whole other podcast could be Hillsong, but
oh gosh,
yeah, but I believe that was started in Australia. Hillsong. I don't know much about it, but I do know that Justin Bieber was big into Hillsong.
Yeah,
but for sure that was started here, and now that's worldwide.
Yep. Massive.
And then you've got the other one. What's the one that Tom Cruise is into?
Scientology.
Scientology.
I've done a bit of a deep dive on that. I find it fascinating.
Well, I did the, what's the test they do on people?
The personality test.
I did the personality.
I also got as a 14-year-old child taken off the streets
Me
in
too.
Auckland, yes,
In
and
Brisbane.
separated from my friend and put in a separate room.
Me too.
Yep.
In Brisbane.
At 14, yeah. Yep.
I would have been at the same age as you.
Oh, and the graph, big problems here, big circle the problems. You need all of these books. I'm like, you're targeting a 14-year-old who can't afford a donut to come and buy some books.
Yeah.
Come on, let's be smart about this.
Oh.
I can't afford any books.
Well, they sold it to me as an IQ test, but I don't believe that it was an IQ test.
I think they say IQ or personality test, but it's basically just whatever they want it to be to say that you've got problems you need to fix.
Well, they were hitting up the wrong girl.
I know, right? But why are they going after us? That's like 14.
Well, they got Tom Cruise. They got a lot of famous celebrities.
They sure do.
And that was based on a science fiction book.
Yes, L. Ron Hubbard, his science fiction in the 50s and 60s, I think,
Yeah.
And then just spun it off.
And then they were like, no, we want to be not-for-profit.
Well, apparently
so
he wasn't
church.
pretending to, he wasn't pretending to be a church to start with. And then because he realised he got the tax write-off, he then decided, I'm a religion.
I wonder if their book of Revelations is that aliens will come and take everybody, and only the Hillsong will come back.
Thetans, I know that. Oh, Scientology I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it's Thetans, and that's why they don't really care about dying, is because I think they think they've got like infinite lifetimes, and you just keep coming back into a different life form, and it's a whole thing. Anyway, I did a massive deep dive on it. I find it, but that's terrifying too. That is a proper cult. Like, you say, a lot of people say Jehovah's Witness and various offshoots are cults. I did not feel it was a cult.
No.
It had very specific beliefs.
Danger. You didn't.
It got a bit dicey with the control. They were trying to be quite controlling, but never to the level of literally not being able to leave or getting complete. I feel there is that same thread of separating families though, because they were genuinely putting the pressure on mum to leave dad to then be part of this. So
did you read
there's that element,
Lisa Marie Presley's book?
No, I haven't yet.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Read it.
Yeah, I will.
And she's got some interesting things to say
she
in there about.
And she had turned against the church, and I think she wasn't openly removed from the church because she was worried about the implications for her daughter and various other things. But
it's an eye opener. But that book is fantastic. Just a side note.
So, I'll definitely read it. Yeah.
So I do have just a couple more questions for you.
Yes.
So. In your life, when you, I know how busy a person you are, you know, you wear all the hats, all your balls are in the air. What do you do, or who do you turn to when you are feeling overwhelmed?
So, I think I've already spoken to it, but my network of women is okay, so if it's a day-to-day thing, and I feel often my husband's away, or often he's a great person, he's a lovely person. But
men are not women. Men are not women.
Men
I think there's a full stop right there.
Australia and guys from Australia and New Zealand, I think we're not brought up to be
empathetic
talkers.
Talkers.
They're fixers. Yes. They want to fix it, and they don't necessarily want to keep talking about it, which is fine. We all know our limitations. That's fine. And I'm naturally want to be a fixer too, and that's part of my upbringing of feeling very responsible for my mother's well-being, and all these things tied in together. So I understand it. I totally understand why people want to just make it better and make it go away. But I feel like my network of women is where I find the biggest solace in terms of, and it's I feel like we offer an opinion if it's appropriate, but we're not trying to fix it. We're not. No. We're just bouncing. Oh, well, I had that similar experience, or when that happened to me.
Yes.
You just heard, just heard and seen, and just feel like, and normalizing it. So you're just like, I don't feel mental now, because it's a very normal feeling to have, to feel like this.
And you know my husband, he's a wonderful, wonderful man, but then sometimes I will not tell him things because I know that I won't get the not the response, but the quality of response that I want from him.
Or he'll try and fix it when you just want to be heard. Yeah. So that's the common thing.
And so I will use my girls, and girlfriends are just invaluable.
So good. And it's just like, and often, you just take turns basically. Whoever's having the hardest moment takes the floor, and we all listen, and we try and be there for them. And I also have to pick my moments of when I'm going to share and when I'm not going to share, because I don't want to, I don't want to overwhelm the situation. Or just overwhelm, like it's too, you can't be all falling to pieces all at the same time. Although sometimes we are, but that's fine.
There's a song about that too.
Yeah.
What about me? It isn't fair.
But if you're going to tie it back to imposter syndrome too, I think this is one of the things as you go, I think every time when you're young and you're naive a little bit, and you just, I think, you're growing your sense of self your whole life, but then you like to see things simplistically. You like to see black and white. You like to see it's a yes or no. It's not there's not grey, right? Because grey is complex, and grey is overwhelming at times, and grey takes time to understand, and compassion and empathy and all these things. And but then as you're going through life, my sense of self was always not very good. Like I really struggled, and I feel like I really didn't know who I was, and I didn't know my
Did you have self-confidence?
No.
When did you get that? Because I can see it oozing out of you.
Really?
Where did you find it? Where did it come from?
Oh, I don't feel it a lot.
So are you a case of fake it till you make it?
I think a bit of that's happening.
Right.
I think a bit of that happened. I had some terrible relationships, boyfriend-wise, that really crushed me as well. And if you ask one of my girlfriends from New Zealand, you'll be quite surprised, I think, because...
Will they say you're a different Hannah now to you were then?
Yes. Yes and no. Mostly the same, but also they could see all of the traits of me not having a good sense of self, having poor self-esteem, and being really swayed by... Because everyone around me in the power dynamic was always... I was so desperate to please. I was just, I'll do whatever you want. I just want everyone to be happy.
Yes.
I was a peacemaker. I was just always doing all these things. So I feel like that has really played into my imposter syndrome too, because it's hard. I feel like an imposter most of the time, because I naturally will doubt and be like, everyone, I think it's so important to have that sense of self, and to, as a child, be allowed to have that sense of self and not be hyper fixated on how other people are perceiving you all the time, because that was me to a T.
And I guess my confidence is a mask for sure. I did lose my father at 7 years of age, and I think I've had a little mask on my face ever since, and for sure my confidence and enthusiasm, it has come naturally, but I think it's to cover up for sadness. Right? So
I call it...
Yeah, people will meet me and they'll just, you're such a bubbly, happy person. And yes, I am.
Yeah.
But I'm also very happy.
Because underneath, I'm like, I don't want you to see this hot mess that's happening under here.
The hot mess.
Yeah, I don't want you to see all that stuff. So I am sparkly as when you're, and as a child, everyone used to say, oh, actually, Hannah's got like these open face and such sparkly eyes. Because I think because I was so desperate for recognition, or just like acknowledgement, like, oh, it's just like, I'll do anything. And, and I think the confidence could come, but it was not internal at all until, and I actually have to say that one of my girlfriends, E.T., shout out E.T., and Beatrix probably.
Shout out E.T.
and Beatrix. Strong women, like strong female friends who came into my life, and E.T. literally forced me to break up with my boyfriend for the last time, that one that was particularly horrible, 4 years of my life. And that one like crushed me hard, and she saw it and she could see how the detrimental effect it was having on me. And she, really was just like, you're not doing this. Give me call him, make the call, give me a phone, took the SIM card out. Like, it was like full, like,
you are done with this fellow.
We're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
And which was 1,000,000% the right call.
Yeah.
And and Beatrix too, just like constantly, like kind of in a very Kiwi way, like in a very like cheeky way, in a very not earnest way, but in like a, come on, you got this, like sort your shit out, like, back yourself, like, why are you like, they probably don't understand the full picture of how it happened, like with my child and whatever, but they were that's where a lot of my confidence finally, having belonging to with and those,
that is girlfriend friendships, that is girls.
It's saved me a few times.
I love that. Now, if just two little last questions, if you could go back in time and speak to your little young self, little Hannah, you can pick the age. What would you say to her about you today? What would you say to let her know that everything is going to be amazing when she grows up?
Yeah, I love that.
I've got goosebumps saying that because I know your life. I know your life, and I would love you to tell her.
Yeah, this came up the other day because Gus, my eldest, is quite similar to me in nature in a few ways. And he's quite an empathetic person, and he was sort of doing a few cues of like, do you think like that's right, or did you like, or like really wanting my opinion, or really wanted validation, and it triggered me so hard because I was like, that's probably a good thing normally, but I'm like, Gus, I need to talk to you. I said, you can get emotional. You are number one. Yeah. You have to, that's that inner child, like all that
back yourself,
person.
Gus, back yourself.
And I was like, it's so great that you care so much about what I think. It's so great that you respect your dad and I's opinion. It's so great that you ask. It's so great that you consider. I said, but you must always have that inner voice and to know, don't let that be overshadowed by others' expectation. Don't ever let that come second or third. Like, that's number one. So you listen so hard that you just can't ignore what your instinct, what everything is telling you is what you need or want or dream, or that should be number one. Always.
So you are not an imposter in the workplace, and you are most certainly not an imposter in the mother hemisphere. You are a wonderful mother. What a fantastic lesson you gave your son. It
just reminded me of myself so much, and then I just was like, oh, it's happening. And I was like, have I made this? And I got so worried, and I was just like, no, stop now. I was like, so great to ask my opinion, but please promise me that you will turn everything else off, your friends, your family.
And you decide.
Got to really listen and just notice when you're excited about something, notice when you're passionate about something, notice when something's like fascinating.
Well, maybe I need to talk to him about his chakras, and then he can listen to it then. Now go back to your little girl.
So that was it. It's just like, find little girl, like
your little girl.
You're amazing. You're like, you're so, you're so caring. You're so naturally want to help. You're like, but that's it. You just have to, in certain aspects of your life, it's not about what other people expect from you. It's not about what other people want you to do. It's not about being the perfect anything. Like, very obsessive me at getting top grades, and it was probably mostly put on myself, but it was very much what I thought was projected onto me without necessarily explicitly saying it. I felt this huge pressure, and so I just wish I could have gone back and said, like, little Hannah,
do you think?
Listen, what is exciting you? What is really the thing? Like, you know that, oh, you're good at that, or that, but what really is the thing that's like sparks like something in you that you like just got to go after it and listen to that. And intuition too. If something doesn't feel right, you're not doing that. Like, don't do what doesn't serve you, and it doesn't have to harm others, but you should need to pull yourself up and advocate yourself. Don't betray yourself. I feel like I betrayed myself a lot as a child because I would just wanted to do what everyone wanted me to do, or be happy, or solve the problem, or peacemake, or whatever. And I just wish I could tell her to just like listen to that spark. Go for it. Just go for it. It doesn't have to please everyone. Just do what.
And also tell her you've got to have a gorgeous husband who absolutely adores you. And everything, and despite everything, fantastic children.
And I probably, to be fair, as we know through life, when these things have affected us through our life, it molds you into the person. Like that's probably a massive benefit to me that I was forced to be so empathetic and not forced to be, but you know what I mean. Like
all of these things make us who we are.
Yes, exactly. And so I feel like like I'm grateful for it. I don't think I wouldn't like completely change it or anything, but I just wish there was that quiet little person who was saying, come on, like go for it. Just do it.
You've got this.
Yeah. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be. Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just go for it. Yeah.
Okay. And last question that I'm asking every guest on this podcast.
Yeah.
Very last question of the day, Hannah.
Yes.
Have you seen a ghost or a UFO?
This was not on the question list.
It was not on the question list.
Have I seen a ghost or a UFO? I have seen visions of, I don't know if it's memories or if it's some. Yeah, I've as a child, I regularly saw. I can't classify what it is, but it was basically like a film version of something that had already happened in my life playing live in front of me. I'll give you an example. I lost my grandmother I was 9, I believe, to breast cancer, and she had a hospital bed set up in the home because she didn't want to go into hospice, and so she was very unwell, very upset, and like struggling. And so that house we'd gone back to after she had passed away, but I don't think it was like straight away. I think it was like maybe a year later or something. And I literally it felt like I walked into a glass door. So I was just walked into that room, the lounge sitting room, and and then opened my eyes, but was like, can't see what's actually there. I'm seeing the
past
memory.
Yeah.
I don't know, a memory thing of it replaying, of her yelling out like, "What's my medication? No, to start again. I didn't hear. I don't understand." Like she was really disgruntled. She was quite a I think I take after, but she's a bit
assertive.
She's a good bit like control freak, basically.
Yeah.
Control, likes things a certain way and wanted to understand, and didn't like it that she didn't understand and that she was impaired, and and so she was like barking at my papa to like, "Oh, what's the medication?"
So the past happened in front of you.
Yeah, replayed, but so much so that I was literally like freaking out that I couldn't
trying to wake up.
See out of but in broad daylight, not at night time, in the middle of the day.
So that was an experience.
So there was that, and then there was also
how old were you?
9,
okay,
10, something like that.
In a coming episode, I've got a child psychic coming on who her expertise are about children and their intuition. So I will ask her about that.
Ask that, and then there's one more if I can. This is my gran again. It's my dad's mum who died young. So she had breast cancer once, went into remission, then got it back and died before she was 55. So she was really unlucky. But anyway, she strong German woman. She must have had such. She taught me to play piano. Like she's just had quite an influence in my life, I guess. And so when she died, she'd left me this ceramic angel, really beautiful, like Nordic or Scandinavian looking angel that you hang from a string that's like kind of flat against your wall. I'd got little budgie feathers from the hospice. When she finally went into hospice in her very last 1 or 2 days, there's budgies in a cage, and I'd taken some of the feathers from the bottom and put it into the pocket of this angel that she had pre-gifted me because she knew she was going to pass. And I kept this was my pride and joy thing that I hung in my room. So when I was 14 years old, we moved into our new house. I had it hung above my bed, which I always did. And I think we moved for the 90s trend of having the dark blue bed cover with the gold suns and moons.
Yes.
That was my whole room, was that.
I wanted one so bad.
Yeah.
My friend Natalie had one.
Everything.
Yes.
Curtains, thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, and this sort of tied into the theme angels.
I'm pretty sure Erin had one too.
Yeah, obsessed, absolutely obsessed. Kind of Aztec looking, I guess, but quite bizarre. Anyway, and I was reading a book, and I had this sort of like, I don't know where it came from. I had not been talking about her, my gran. I don't know why it came into my head. And I just suddenly thought, I think it's because I was like 14-ish and was probably thinking, am I being a bit of a naughty teenager? Like what I was getting up to with starting to foray into, like my first little gatherings and parties and things, like what would she think of me? Or I've had my first couple of kisses and so on, and like what would she think of me? And I just thought, what would Granny think of what I'm like? And then I just heard this sound, and I went up against the wall.
You caught it.
I caught the angel, like the ceramic angel, dropping because the string had broken and it was going down my wall like that.
So while you were thinking of
her,
your granny, did you call her Granny?
Granny. Yeah.
Granny.
Mari, yeah.
And then you heard something behind your head, and you caught the ceramic angel
against the wall,
mid-fall
flat.
against the
like
wall.
That.
And did it break?
No.
Oh, wow.
And I actually had to turn my, like, this is awkward. Have you ever tried to get out of that
no.
position with something?
Yeah.
I was like, Sophie, I was like calling my sister and I was
Yeah.
like, I had to like wriggle myself out of this position
Wow.
to make sure I didn't drop it again. And I was like, she's watching me.
She's watching.
She's judging me.
Yeah.
No, she was wonderful. But so I've had a few, and I used to see auras and things, I think, when I was really, I used to talk about seeing colours and things like that.
So this is what are we chatting with this Sue Bishop in an upcoming episode?
I'd be so interested to know.
Yeah, fantastic. Because my kids, I've got lots of stories of my kids and intuition and some funny things they said and
when
saw.
They're naturally more open to various things.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So interesting.
Well, thank you so much, Hannah. It was so
pleasure.
lovely to speak with you today.
Yeah, I loved
and you most certainly are not an imposter, my love.
Oh, thank you.